Alicia, and today we're doing a book review. And mine is called Stone Fox.
We don't own the book, but that's at school, right? And why is it your favorite?
Because, Little Willie, he's the main character, and his grandfather, they lived at a farm, and they had a dog named Searchlight. So they were out in the country area. So then what happened in the next chapter was that Little Willie's grandfather got sick in the brain. So he just was laying there on the bed, and palm down means yes, and palm up means no.
Okay.
Or the other way around, I don't know. But then, so he was looking at the ceiling, and he was crying, he had a drop in his beard. And before that happened, if Little Willie didn't wake up on time, then he had to feed his breakfast to the chickens, because they woke up real early, really early. About 1 o'clock in the morning.
I doubt quite that early, but I'm sure 4 or 5.
And skipped the thingy. So they were Little Willie had to help his grandfather, and so he was getting some food and some stuff, and then so a guy went to their little farm, and then what happened was, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, so the tax man went in there, and then Willie got home, and Searchlight was barking at the door, and then the tax man had a gun in his hand, opened up the door slightly, and then was pointing the gun at Searchlight while she was barking. So Willie, and then blah blah blah, don't know what happened, and then so Little Willie said, I was he hooked her up to the thingy, a fence, so she doesn't go into the house and attack the tax person. Because she likes outside, she sleeps outside. Okay. And then, so Little Willie went inside with the tax person, with his grandfather, in the bedroom. And the tax man said, you have to pay us $500 for
Otherwise, they were going to take the farm away, right?
How did you know?
Because that's what tax people do. So what happened after that?
And then, so Little Willie had to make $500. Either the tax man said, make some or lose the farm. And grandfather said, lose the farm. So Little Willie went to a store, and he went to his lawyer and said, grandfather's lawyer, and he said, I need $500. And then people kept saying to him, you're too young to get that much money, and then you will never make some. And then finally, in a store, he looked back at a poster, and it said dog racing. So, of course, he had a sled when it was snowing, but they're growing potatoes, so he has to...
So he basically had his dog do the races, and then they won?
You'll find out, Noe.
Okay, so you want me to read the story to find out what happens?
So, blah, 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 I don't know what happened. And then, so the race was doing it. And then, so Stone Fox, he always won every single race. And this is kind of the sad part of the story. I'll tell you when it's the sad part. don't cry. So they were at the race, and then they were starting the race, and
Okay, but we can't take all day because you're taking a long time.
Gunshot, and then poof, and then blah blah blah. They were racing, and then Willie saw his grandfather, like getting up up.
Out of the bed?
Yeah, and then what happened? Like he said, and then he saw Stone Fox like right behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So then he was like, "Go Searchlight, go Searchlight!" And then he kept saying that. Like he said, like, "Go faster, go faster, go faster!" And then Searchlight. This is the sad part. Searchlight, heart was beating really fast, and then it just stopped.
Oh no.
So then she died. She tumbled over with Little Willie.
Yeah.
And then Stone Fox stopped his sled like close to Little Willie, like right beside him.
Yeah.
And then Stone Fox, he never talks, so he said he like what's it called? He put his hand near the dog's heart, and then he felt really sad for the dog. So Little Willie was looking at him, and then he was sad, and then everyone was sad because they didn't know what happened. So blah blah blah.
Okay, who won the race? Like, get to that part because we've already like
No one.
almost 7 minutes. Okay.
So then, yeah, and then that happens.
Okay, so they should read the book because it's good, but it's got some sad parts in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye. Welcome to Family Reviews. My name is Destiny, and today I am doing a book review. And the book I'm reviewing today is called The Raft. So first of all, this book is one of my favorite books because I love how suspenseful it is, how it keeps you on your toes, and there's many plot twists in it. So first, I guess I'll read the blurb or the summary on the back. Robbie is an experienced traveler. She's taken a flight from Honolulu to Midway Atoll, a group of Pacific islands where her parents live many times. When she has to get to Midway in a hurry after a visit from her aunt in Hawaii, she gets on the next cargo flight at the last minute. She knows the pilot, but on this flight, there's a new co-pilot named Max. All systems are go until a storm hits during the flight. The only passenger, Robbie, doesn't panic until the engine suddenly cuts out and Max shouts at her to put on a life jacket, and she sees him struggle with the raft. And then she's in the water, fighting for her life. Max pulls her into the raft, and that's when the real terror begins. They have no water, their only food is bagged Skittles. There are sharks, there is an island, but there's no sign of help on the way.
So what made you decide that this was your favorite book?
Well, one of them. The reason why it's one of my favorite books is because, well, at first it starts off slow like most books, and it doesn't seem that scary or anything. But then after Robbie gets on the flight, and the engine cuts out, it gets more interesting, and that's when one of the first mini plot twists happen when you find out that the plane's about to crash and they have to get on the life raft, hence the raft, lifeboat, to survive so they won't die with the plane crash, like the other co-pilot did in this that I read. And there's also a few other ones. I won't spoil them, but yeah, but there's a few other reasons why I like the book, but I feel like if I said them, I'd spoil the book. But I guess I could say a few. The reason why I like the book, like I said, is because of all the plot twists, and you never expect what's happening. Another thing is
the book isn't too long. It's it's quite short and easy, fun read. Well, not easy, but it's a fun read. What else?
Well, it kept you entertained, right?
Well, yeah.
For the short period of time, but you've read it how many times now?
3 or 4.
Yeah. And then you also just recently took it to school.
Yeah. Because we were doing a read aloud in school, so I figured why not try to see if the kids would like to read it. I got close, but not quite.
How many books did it beat out compared to, well, before it lost?
3. So.
And what book did it go up against where it lost?
The invitation to the game. That book was like the complete opposite of this one, though. So. But yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Well, what other books do you like?
Oh well, there's a few others like The Hatchet. I've read that about the same amount of times as this one, and I like it because I like the idea of these kids around like my age, flying out, someone dying, and then them having to survive on their own because no one is there to help them. And it kind of, like, I don't know, it kind of intrigues me because, well, how do I say this? Oh yeah, it kind of intrigues me because, well, they're kids, and usually most of the time adults usually think kids are more incompetent than them, and we can't do things like they can. And it was cool how these kids survived on their own, with no one there to help them while they tried to survive. And I thought that was cool with the raft and Hatchet.
Mm-hmm.
And
So who told you to read The Hatchet?
You did. Mom did because she said it was an interesting book, but she said she didn't like reading it in school because she was forced to. But I enjoyed it because it was a good book.
Mm-hmm. It was a very good book.
Yes.
And I also read The Raft, and that was a really good book too. But I still think that Brian's Adventures in the Forest is still better for The Hatchet. But I didn't know that there was 2 other books for that series. 3 other books for that series. I had no idea. I thought there was only that one because that's the only one they make you read they made me read in school, besides The Giver. And at first I hated The Giver. And then now that I've read it later, it's actually a pretty good book too. It's strange how many books now are kind of like those books. Because The Giver is all about the society life and that, everyone's secluded and had to more or less like go on their own. Divergent's very much like that. Hunger Games is kind of like that, except for there's a little bit more violence and like an actual game atmosphere to it, but it's still the same where like society is separated
turning against each other,
and then they try to make it better by doing different things, and that's what The Giver is mostly about.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting, and the fact that they made it into a movie makes the book way better, because then you can actually see the characters come to life. So I'd love to see The Hatchet and the other ones in that series actually become a movie, because I think they'd be pretty interesting. Sometimes the movies are not very good.
Or anything like the book sometimes either.
But you gotta deal with what you got.
Yep.
Alright, say goodbye.
Okay, anyways, that was my review for The Raft. I know it wasn't long, but bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.